Welcome to Paris Paranormal. I'm Terry Keel, and usually I have April Wilson here with me, but she's out of town. Lucky girl, she travels a lot. So she will be back next week. We're looking forward to that, and you're stuck with me tonight. What can I say? But I'm glad you're here and you've joined us tonight. We have a great show planned, and we've got the Hitman here in the house, and he has a lot to talk about. He is with nightdreamstalkradio.com, and his name is JC, and I'm wondering why they call him the Hitman, but he is the Hitman. Creechbaum, and he's been investigating the paranormal for 30 plus years all over the U.S., and there's nothing in the paranormal he hasn't seen or done to help people with paranormal problems. He's retired from boots on the ground helping people in 2019, and he's been on many different cable TV shows, and he still speaks at many different paracons throughout the year. He's also been interviewed on many different paranormal shows. So he's pretty much the host of his own show titled The Hitman Show, which airs on Mondays and Tuesdays with guests covering all things paranormal, and his show is on all the major apps. As a matter of fact, I was recently interviewed by him December 5th on his show, and we had a great time talking about all the many different experiences that I've had. But tonight is all about the Hitman, so let's bring him on and welcome so much, JC. So why do they call you the Hitman? Should I be concerned here?
Well, if I tell you that, you don't know. Wear sunglasses a lot, and if I wear Fidelity, you think I was a 1960s hitman. So that's just a nickname that just stuck, and here I am.
Well, there you go. I love it. Well, welcome to Paris Paranormal. I'm really glad that you're here with us, and I want to talk with you a little bit about all the different things that you've been involved with, because you really have been involved with just about as much as I have. Few people kind of, go beyond and beyond, from spiritual, demonic to angelic and all the different realms, but you're one of the ones that has had an awful lot of experiences. So what's on your mind? Talk to us. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I can tell you how when it first all started. I mean, I can go there.
Okay, that sounds good.
When it first started, I was actually, and here's the thing, I was about 3.5 years old. And at that age, I didn't know what spirits were, or ghosts, or anything. But every day, I would play outside. We lived just kind of outside of town in the country. And I would play with this little Native American boy, every day. And when it was lunchtime, I would say, you want to come in and eat lunch with me, Mom? My mom's got some lunch. She said, you're more than welcome to eat. And he says, no, I don't want to go in the house. And he would never come in the house. I didn't think nothing of it. Then one day, I asked him, I said, why won't you come in the house? And, you said you don't want to come in. Why won't you come in? He says, I'm scared of the mean man in there. And he was right. Yeah, there was a mean man. And this guy was a spirit too, but I didn't, again, I'm 3.5. I don't put these things together. You know what I mean? But it was a spirit of a really just nasty old grumpy man. And, he was afraid of me. He didn't want to come in my house. So this went on for a while, and then one day I went to my dad took me to the store, and I got this brand new Spider-Man comic book. I love Spider-Man, so I went upstairs to show my mom. I had on these little cowboy boots, only like 3.5. So then I'm going to go back downstairs, and these are hard oak wood steps. Mm-hmm. But at the top of the staircase is that mean old man, okay?
You could see him.
Oh, yeah, I see him plain as day, same as the Indian boy.
Right.
And so now I'm in a predicament because there's only one way down the stairs, and I've got to get by him to get down there, right? So I try to scamper by him real fast, and next thing I know, I felt like hands in the back of my back as I go tumbling down the stairs.
Oh, no.
Like literally tumbling.
Oh,
down.
boy.
that was a nightmare. Oh yeah. So fast forward a couple weeks. I think my mom, she could see things too, but she totally denial. This is way back, you know. And but anyway, we did move out of there, and a couple weeks later, and there was no more problems with that. But that's how. But looking back, those were spirits. Those weren't make believe. I wasn't making up some old man. Why would I make that?
Yeah,
up?
kids don't usually do that. Where were you living at the time?
It was in a place called Yorksville.
Yorksville. In what state?
That was Ohio.
Ohio. Oh boy, Ohio. I'll tell you that place. It does have a lot going on in Ohio, let me tell you.
Yes, there's a lot going on.
Yes, absolutely. Strange place, the whole darn state. So the little boy was a spirit as well as the old man.
Yeah, and the reason he wouldn't come in our house, he was afraid of the mean old man. I guess that spirit was mean to him too. I don't, that's all I can put together. Looking back, and looking back, I know those were spirits now, but back then I didn't know no better.
Right, you didn't understand it. Right, I often tell people, if your child comes to you and says they're seeing something, don't ignore them. They are probably seeing something, and it's important.
And I've noticed in a lot of my research I put together that children, especially before 8, 9 years old, their mind isn't polluted or dummied down from these things. So they're probably seeing these spirits, really.
I did too. I saw things at 5, and amazing, isn't it? It changes you as you're aging and as you get older because your friends probably weren't seeing those things.
And just to give you more of a timeline as we go forward here, now you're talking 3.5 to 4. Like there was a whole period of between that and probably age 20. And I tried to ignore these things, seeing spirits and hearing spirits, because it got to the point I knew what they were. When you get old enough, you know. So I tried. It's tough enough to be a teenager or a young adult or whatever. That's rough enough. Okay, you don't need.
Yes, it is.
You don't need, especially back in the 70s and 80s. You don't need to add that to your agenda. You know. So I tried to ignore all that stuff, but it came to a head when I was about 20. Yeah, I don't know, it was mid to late 80s. I was living with my aunt and cousin. They're both deceased now, but at the time, it was just the next town up from me now, and we was living together. We worked together at the same place. We would get home every night. Now, his mom, my aunt, God bless her, she had OCD on steroids. Like, when you got home, your clothes were clean before you spun out. I mean, you would come home and the kitchen would be the dining room. I mean, she was just amazing what this woman could do. But anyway, so for about a week period, and we both slept in this giant bedroom. He was on that end, I was on this end, and then there was a door at the end. But we would wake up and our clothes would be across the room somewhere because she'd pull them up, put them on the stand next to you. And he thought I was doing it, and I thought he was doing it to me. And I knew something was going on. Again, I'm trying to depress, forget all. I don't want to hear it. I'm trying to put it on the back burner. And every night, we lived upstairs, and below the apartment was another apartment, but his future wife lived, and she was this girlfriend, and lived down below. And he would go down there every night after work till, it was time for him to go to bed. And our bedroom was right above their apartment. So about a week living there, I go to bed, and our bedroom is all hardwood oak floors. Okay. So he's right below me visiting with his girlfriend. My aunt's out in the living room, and I've got the door shut, and I'm in the bedroom. I just go in there, lay down about 11 o'clock at night, and I hadn't laid down more than 10 seconds. Now, picture this. You ever see them giant stainless steel pans? I mean, them big around. I mean, giant ones. A big stew stainless steel pan. Yes. Picture one of those pans full of a bunch of other little stainless steel pans. Okay, picture that in your mind.
Okay.
Now I'm laying in bed. Now this is what I heard. Beside my bed, it sounded like somebody took that giant pan of pans and slammed it as hard as they could on that hard wooden floor right beside me. Okay, now
Ah.
when when that happened, my cousin come running upstairs because he's right below me. My aunt come running in there, and I swear I was getting peeled off the ceiling because I think my soul left my body that night a little bit.
Yeah, that is very frightening.
Oh my,
Mm-hmm.
I'm Terry. I never experienced anything like that in my life. Like
Right.
when that happened, it was like you don't expect that. But
Right.
here's where it really gets weird. They thought something blew. I mean, it was loud.
Yes,
My
I know. I've heard it. I've heard something very similar in my own life. I know. It's very loud, very frightening.
blew my mind. My aunt's come running. She thought I blew something up. Now here's the weird part. There's nothing out of place.
Right. There never is. I know it. I know it.
There was nothing to explain that. My aunt was freaking out. My cousin, but I knew right then it was like a light bulb. I was like, I knew what it was. There was another old man, another old man.
Really? Hmm.
And I searched into the history. It was true. It was another old man that lived there. It used to be his. I guess he didn't want to move on. He didn't want to share that space.
So this was another house. Was this in
No,
another state or were you still in Ohio?
yeah, same state, but about 20 miles away.
Okay.
It's a different old man, another grumpy old man, but um, he must have knew I could see spirits sometimes or whatever, and he would not leave me alone. I stayed there about 10 days. I couldn't. He wouldn't let me sleep. I had to leave. A couple days after that happened, I had to move out. On my
Yeah.
own.
Yeah. I understand. Hmm.
That was but that's weird. I mean, there was no evidence of nothing out of place, and you know how loud it is to take a big pan of pans and
Yes.
slam on a wooden floor. Oh my God, that's
Oh,
loud.
yes. Yes, because what I heard was it sounded like all of the shelves fell off the wall and hit the floor on a tile floor in Florida. And I was working on my computer, and all of a sudden I was like, oh no. They've come off the wall, and I moved my chair back to go check because it was so loud. It scared me, and I was afraid what I was going to see. All my best dishes broken. You know, you don't know. All your coffee cups broken. And when I walked into the kitchen, perfect shape. Nothing. Not one thing. And this crash was a massive crash. So I can honestly tell you, I have experienced that. I know the fear. Had you seen any shadows? Had you personally, before that, seen any full-bodied apparitions like you did when you were younger?
In that house before that, no, but I knew he was there. I could feel him big time. I knew he was there. But I was in denial. I wanted to try it because I was young. I didn't want to be bothered with that stuff.
Right, I know. Oh boy, do I ever know.
Yeah. After that happened, I moved out of there. Then fast forward, I moved to the East Coast, and then by that I was young 20s, and I was like, you know what? East Coast was so rich in paranormal stuff. It was just all over the place.
Where were you on the East Coast, if you don't mind me asking?
Massachusetts,
Massachusetts, okay.
all up into Rhode Island, all up and down through them states I was there. So anyway, I just started studying, demonology and reading all these paranormal books. And I thought I'm thinking to myself, this isn't going to go away. So I need to do something to empower myself and learn all I can about these things. To bite me in the butt, so to speak, one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And then I would go, I had a job, and I was a foreman in this job, and I would go on the weekends by myself, which you shouldn't do, and investigate places.
Oh, no. Yeah, never by yourself.
Yeah, and I would do, of course, remember this is back in the 80s, it was different times, but I
Yes,
would.
yeah.
I do, but I had studied 4 or 5 years up on this stuff, a lot of information, and I'm very good at intaking information and holding on to it. And so I fast forward. It's kind of a funny event because these 3 guys I had working for me, they knew what I did. They'd always make fun of me, like, there's no such thing as ghosts. And they were big because we dug holes all day, and I made them. I always hired real big guys because they had to dig holes all day.
That was smart.
And they were bigger than me. I mean, they were all, I make sure they was all like 6'2", 250 at least at the smallest. But anyway, so I got these three guys. They're always making fun of me. And I said, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is. This weekend, come with me and we'll go to a place. They said, oh, yeah. So finally they said, okay. So I found this place. This is back in the 80s called Barrahack. It's in Connecticut. It's a old, like, pilgrim town from the 16 or 1700s. There's nothing.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's in the middle of nowhere. Got to drive this road. I remember the instructions. This was back when you went to a library. Henry got the instructions out of a book. You had to drive this road in the middle of nowhere in the country, and there was this one oak tree you had to park by and then hike about a mile into the woods.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't believe I found it, but I don't think you're allowed to go there today. I think somebody privately owns the land, but back then it didn't matter, So anyway, we get there, and I timed it, Terry, where it was just like going to get dark. You know what I mean? So you had the ambiance of the sun going down. It's between dark and light. You know what I mean? Now, I grew up in the woods, so remember that whenever we get a little forward here.
Okay.
So we're getting to this place called Barrahack. There's nothing but real old stone foundations is all that's left there. But there's history of shadow people and EVPs and disembodied voices and all kind of stuff there. So as soon as we get there, now these three guys are behind me. We hike a mile in the woods. I led the way. I found it. And they're behind me. As soon as we get there, Terry, I hear these most ungodly noises. Bone-chilling noises. Now, I knew what they were because I grew up in the woods. I knew these three city folk would not know what they were.
Like, so what were they like? Like animal sounds or? Yeah. Ooh,
yeah. What they were it was rut season. It was middle of November. It was deer rutting, and some deer rutting can make some very ungodly noises, okay? Yeah. That's what was going on. They thought it was demons or something. I turned around to tell them what it was so they'd be freaked. All I seen was asses and elbows, man. They were gone. I didn't get a chance to tell them what it was. I mean, they were a good 20. They were just gone. Full sprint like the Three Stooges. They were out of there, Terry. They were gone. So anyway, I stayed around for another, 45 minutes, an hour. I investigated. I did seen like a shadow person. I heard some noises. I couldn't make out what they were, like voices, but there's nobody there. So I figured it's like, I think there was a lot of residual stuff going on there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So anyway, I figured I've had enough. I hiked back. So I get back to my truck. These three giant men are in my truck with a door lock. One's got a hammer. One's got a tire. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, typical investigators.
What are you going to do with these tools against First of all, it was. I told them what it was. They didn't even believe it when I told them what it was. It wasn't no ghost. It was just deer. You guys are crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what happened in there. That was kind of a funnier thing that happened, but it just shows you how this progressed. But I'm glad I studied all that stuff because somebody I knew, they'd really gotten a bad attachment, and oh my goodness, it was horrible. And somebody and their relatives came and got me, and I went. This person had tore up the house. Anyway, it took us like 5 hours nonstop. We finally got this thing out of the person.
Oh my goodness.
It took. There was 3 of us. It took all it. I tell you, it was rough.
It can be rough. It can be very hard.
It was a rough one. We was successful. We got it gone, and the only thing we know that could have caused it, because this person didn't dabble in anything. It was maybe playing with the Ouija board by herself was the only thing we can think of.
Absolutely. The Ouija board is a portal.
And they were playing by themselves, and that's yeah, and this thing, was telling them lies and stuff, but that's what we thought. But anyway, and thank God I'd studied all this stuff, or that person would have been in trouble, I'll tell you that. And the funny part was they lived with some family members, and they weren't home. And when they came back the next day, because the house was tore up from this person. So me and the other two people their relatives. We cleaned up the house, and the relatives come home. Oh, you guys cleaned the house, you know. It's like, oh yeah, I thought the least we could do for you, you know, you guys. We
Yeah.
never knew what was going on. It was horrible, but things did work out. Never had any problems after that, but that goes to show you, you got to watch what you do, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I have always found in doing a cleansing or a clearing or a deliverance that if the person doesn't know how they got involved with it, that's what takes so long to get rid of it, because they almost need to understand that they've got to renounce this and not want to have fellowship with it, because we can deliver people from enemies, but we can't deliver them from something that they've befriended. So if they don't know for certain how they got into it all, that's probably why it took you so long. It took them a while to realize, you know, what did I do? How did I do this? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I have found over the years a lot of people, unbeknownst to them, they will do something that will invite things into their life just
Right.
by using a Ouija board or maybe using a spirit box. There's different things you can do that you will inadvertently invite something in your life. You might not think so because you're just, you know, it's so everyday or so common, and that's what I call that scary subtle stuff. And then that stuff, it starts to grow roots, as you know, and the longer it goes.
It changes your personality. It starts changing you, you know.
That's so true. Yes, that's so true. And a lot of people, and then, you know, when you do go help people with these things, they think, oh, you know, it's like getting a cold. We'll just call this person to come in and fix it. Well, it's not like that, you know. Sometimes these things don't. It's not like you see on TV. It's not like you come in.
No, nothing like the media makes it look.
No, do this and this, and you'll be all fixed. Or let me do this.
Yeah.
Plus, the people got to do the work to not fall back into that trap to invite these things back in, you know, honestly.
You know, JC, do you find that usually something like that will take anywhere from 3 to 4, maybe even 5 hours? I've never found one that's just like, oh, you go in an hour and you're done. It seems to take all night.
I've never been in and out of a place less than about 20 hours. Or 15. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Even when I was trying to retire in 2019, the last 3 cases I did was just, I could write a book on them alone. It was mind blowing. The one, that one case is still, you know, and I still keep in touch with the family. They're very thankful, you know, but just give you an example. They lived at this place for 25 years, never had a problem. Okay, never had a problem. Then one day, like it started, they had a problem, and this went on for 5 years. Serious bad stuff, and they couldn't figure out why. They didn't do anything that they know of, and over that 5-year period, they had called in 3 different teams and 2 different priests, you know, to come in to get rid of this problem.
Oh my goodness.
And nothing worked. And so I knew there was something more. We just had to figure out what it was. You know, you got to know what you're dealing with before you can fix it. You know,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it took a while, but I figured it out. What had happened? Somebody was because they had a son who was older, but he had like autism, so he wasn't. His mind was a lot younger than he was, so to speak.
Right.
And he just wanted to get on and play games, you know, and just have fun with people. But there was bad people online telling him to chant things and say these things. Okay. And I don't know exactly what it was, but I believe that is what invited something in. And also he opened things up by saying these things. Now he don't know no better. Okay? He don't know. Now these evil people on their end, you know, they're really, listen, that's dangerous. Think about that. Because this went on 5 years. And so there was what they call portals there. Listen, I seen something in the attic of that place. That was, I think these things get in your mind. They put in your mind what might scare you or distract you, because I seen some Seems like we had to go. They had an attic, and you couldn't get in the attic, but you had to go outside and get on a roof that had like a 45 degree pitch to get whatever inside that attic. They had like a plyboard over it that was screwed shut. Mm-hmm. So you had to get on a ladder, and they took it off. And as soon as they took it off, no, I'm not even kidding you. The guy reaches, he had a bulb, on a pull string. He reaches to pull the string. Before he gets his hand about this far away, before he even gets to the string, the bulb blows up.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's a red flag right there that you're on something. Okay, let me tell you. The bulb goes, pow. And he goes, oh my God, I didn't even touch the string yet. I said, I know. So he goes, I'm laughing now, but boy, back then it was serious.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I was worried for sure that this thing, because I knew it was in this attic, was going to push me off that roof, because it wouldn't take much. It was already a slight pitch. And she goes, oh, don't worry about it. There's another one in the back. So he goes back there to get it. And right when he's going to get it, this thing, it came up, it was like 2x8s that you had to kind of walk on so you didn't fall through the kitchen.
Right.
So he's, straddling them. But in between these 2x8s was like this insulation, but it was like, I don't know, it wasn't like solid. It was like dusty insulation. It was kind of shredded insulation is what it was.
Oh.
And as he's walking to this other bulb, it looked like a tornado come up out of this thing, and it was the shape of this ugly looking thing with a big old head and like spikes coming out of it. It spun up out of there and went down this little thing, and I was like, I was thinking, oh God, I hope he didn't see that. And I said, did you see that? He goes, I just saw the back end of it. That was amazing. I was like, no, that wasn't. That was bad. But I didn't tell him that, but he seen it too. I'm glad he didn't see the ugly. He just seen like the back end of it leaving. But that was mind boggling. That was heavy stuff. Let me tell you that same house. I used to keep holy water in like a drinking bottle.
Yeah, I could see why. That's interesting. The things that have the spiky heads are very much like skinwalkers. And we definitely had an experience just a couple years back in our new home here in Tennessee, with a skinwalker type of demonic entity. And it's awfully odd. I don't really know why they choose to show up when they do, but, they do. And a lot of people seem to have that, and they always seem to have that spiky head. So I'm wondering if that wasn't something similar to that you saw. The tornadic thing is very impressive as well. That shows a level of power that they have. People seem to think that these spirits, these demonic entities, ghosts, if you will, have no real power, but they do. They actually do. And they can, depending on how possessed a person can get or how attached it can be to somebody, it can really cause a lot of issue for people. So this is why, thank God, you do what you do and I do what I do, and we get rid of these things. But it's often not easy. People used to say to me all the time, spirits can't kill nobody or do anything. And I was giving one scenario to think about. Think if you're living in an old home and you got a pilot light in your furnace, a gas furnace, and this spirit is just nasty enough to be able to get enough energy to blow that pilot light out. But he waits till you're maybe really drunk or really tired. So when you go to bed, he's going to gas. Mm-hmm. Then when you wake up and flip that switch in the morning, you're done. That is a scenario that is very easily could happen. Believe it. Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I've watched houses blow up from, not on our block, but on TV from when something like that did happen. And all you have to do is one little, and that's it. And the whole house blew, and everybody was killed inside the house. It's frightening, but they can cause a lot of problems. They can cause very, very serious depression, which then can lead to something much more, and it can cause somebody to be hurt, or something like this, to hurt themselves even. And there's many different ways that these things can cause trouble. This is why I stay in the scriptures. This is why personally I stay close to God, because He knows exactly where everything's coming from and what it's all about, and gives me information to help the person. You know, it's a very troubling situation people can get into.
But listen, you just don't. There's a lot out there, and the other thing is, people you say, "Well, I don't believe in that." Well, you cannot believe in anything, but that will not make you exempt from things. Trust me.
Right. That's right.
It may, if it was that easy, we'd have it licked. Believe me, if you just, well, I don't believe in it. If that worked, life would be easy.
Sure. I mean, there are so many people that will tell you, oh, I don't believe in the Grand Canyon, or I don't believe in Niagara Falls. Well, it doesn't matter what you believe. What is. Yeah. And, you know, other people have seen it, experienced, been there, done that, you know, got the T-shirt, and it doesn't matter what people believe. It's not about your opinion. It's about what is factual. And that's a hard thing to get across to people. I think it's an ego thing, maybe. You know, they don't want to think that they don't know. But a humble spirit is a good thing to have when you're working in demonology, because, boy, there are so many things. I didn't always have answers, you know, and I had to learn just like you did. You know, we have to learn as we're walking through these things. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to help people.
Right. And,
you know,
and I you know, a lot of people, paranormal can be very addictive. I've helped a lot of people that they treat it like a drug. They get addicted to it, man.
Sure they do. Yeah.
I didn't get into paranormal because I want to do it because I love it. I tried since age of 3 years old to not have anything to do with it.
That is so true. Yeah.
Until one day I was like, you know what? I've either got to ride this bull and master, or it's going to kick my butt. So that's what I just took the bull by the horns. And then, but even then, I did not go into this. I want to be an investigator. I never did that. I was the one that, you know, maybe teens would come say, hey, can you help us? We got something. Like, I never wanted to just do it for the fun or the thrills. I did it because I knew what to do to help people. Other than that, I didn't want no part of it. And listen, I was happy to walk away from it. It takes a lot out of you. I just couldn't do it no more.
It really does. We were talking about that earlier. Just going into memories and reliving it and sharing some of the things that I've been through is draining. But did you grow up with a church life or religion, or were you going anywhere? Was there anything spiritual going on in your life?
Well, I come to a point, I realized at a young age, and the problem, because people used to ask me all the time about my religion, the problem with religion, nothing wrong with them, but they're not all right, but they're not all wrong either.
That's right.
But when you get in organized stuff, two things happen. You get cliques, you get politics. You get,
That's
honestly,
the truth.
And one of the main things in religion is should not be judge anybody.
That's
you know,
right. And they all do.
I didn't see the splinter in my eye with the, you know, log in yours. He is, you know, cast the first stone, and I can go on, but it's there. So
it is.
And, you know, it's not about, you don't have to be organized with the church to have a relationship with God or know what to do.
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
And I learned that at a young age, but unfortunately, and I don't have nothing against religions or anything, none of that. No, if it's for you, that's fine. But I just was fortunate. I learned that at a young age. I probably, you know, mid-teens, with all these spirits and stuff. I'm like, you know, there's something more here going on than that I'm really hallucinating all day like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, these spirits, people think, you know, it's only at nighttime. Spirits are everywhere all the time, man.
That's right. Yeah.
And people say, well, I don't know how I got this attachment. Or you can get them in one of the very well-known stores, or maybe an old building that's not, you might not think it's haunted, but these places have long histories. Even the land. Mm-hmm. Look at all the bloodshed on some of the land, especially down where you're living, these battlefields. You can walk across the field, maybe something falling home. Who knows?
It's so true. And hospitals, they're portals. That's a place where people are born and die. I mean, there are so many places that people can pick up something if they're not doing their life properly. If something's gone wrong or going wrong, or there's attitudes and this and that, you can pick up all kinds of things. It's hard not to, actually. And if they're not really living a godly life, because I don't think religion plays any part of anything. I think that it's pretty much a waste of time, religion. But a true spiritual walk with God, now that's another thing. But the two are not the same. And, I'm trying to have a true walk with God and follow everything He tells me. And that's how I'm not burdened by these things. But, that's another story all in of itself.
Yeah.
Probably don't have time for that. But
I know in the last 3 cases I did, they were so mind-blowing. The next to the last case I was on.
Yeah.
It was there. I was a team. It was clear to another state, and the team, all good, very good friends of mine on this team. I would do anything for them, and vice versa. And they knew I was retired, so they tried to get this other person. They wanted to go there because they wanted to corral and take the demon home with them. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some people.
What? Hello.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I went to go help them fix this. So just a couple little things about this place. When we get there, I used to use a little a pendulum. I used to find what you call like vortexes, or where it may be a portal at, maybe, and we'll kind of do other things to validate it.
Yeah.
But as I'd walking with it, if it starts spinning, clockwise and counterclockwise, But as I'm walking with it and sticking straight out, now imagine, if you will, I've got it like this pendulum. I'm walking along. All of a sudden, it's going like this. Mm-hmm. And there's no hand there holding it out like that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's suspicious.
Yeah. The team member was like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "Well, I would say something is either holding it."
Exactly.
Yeah, that was mind-blowing. Now that house, that house, there was a younger daughter who was really, unbeknownst to all, but was in the witchcraft and Ouija boards big time. And it really brought in some stuff, but got to the root of it. And the weird thing was, or whatever you want to call it, at the end, when it was all done, it was real gloomy and overcast that day. And it was almost, the sun was about to go down, but all of a sudden they had this big picture window and they had a big curtain over it. That curtain, the drapes, it just fell to the floor. And when it did, the sun was just eclipsing over a cloud, and it all come rushing into that house. And it was like a wave of, oh my goodness. You couldn't have wrote that in a script better. It was just amazing. The family started crying because it was the first time in a long time they had any. That family was living, 9 people sleeping together in one room. It was so bad.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, fear will do that. I mean, and I don't blame them, if they've gotten that deep into it all. That is very frightening, and you never know what can happen.
Oh, it was something. And then the other one of the last cases there was another mind-boggling one that we get there, and I knew there was something in the bedroom. I could just feel it. I get in there, and there was a REM pod in there. The same team we worked together with, or I would help once in a while, and for some reason I knew there was something in that closet that was like a doorway or something, as they call it. But there was a REM pod there, and lack of a better word, it looked like a shadow person, about 7 foot tall, real skinny. And it looked like he had his fist down to his side, like shaking him, and this thing's growling at me. It's like, "Arr!" And it's shaking his fist down to the side of him. I'm about 3 feet from him and looking at it when it's doing this. And the REM pod is just, I thought the REM pod was going to blow up. I've never seen them things go off hardly, but this thing was, it was just going crazy. And there was this thing there. So anyway, I come back out of the room. I let everybody know, I think I found the problem, It's in the bedroom and back there.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, we got that thing out of there that day too. But this thing, there was other things that attached to the husband real bad. Mm-hmm. And I told him, we filmed it and everything. I said, I can dislodge this attachment on you, but when I do, you're either going to get real knobbly knees, you might pass out, you might faint, you might get sick. You're going to feel this thing come off you.
Yes,
This thing's been on him for like 18 years. They had messed around with the Satanic Bible saying all these verses out loud.
Oh my goodness. What possesses people to do something like that? The devil, the demons.
Young teens, when they didn't know no better. Thought, well, let's have some fun. Fast forward 18 years later, a grown adult, it's still
there. Mm-hmm.
Right. And also, just to give it a test, I took a little St. Benedict medal and put it underneath his seat where he was sitting. And when he got up to go to the kitchen get a drink, I let his wife know about it. When he come back, he went to sit down. He'd stand back up. 20 minutes later, he was still standing there trying to sit down. He couldn't sit down there because that medal was underneath his seat.
Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm.
That was a little test I would do just to see, So anyway, we got this. We even filmed it. Got the spirit off of him. His knees got wobbly, but he says, "I'm okay." Next thing you know, we put him in bed because I knew he was going to be in bed for at least a day. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I touched base with him about 2-3 days later. It looked like one of them before and after pictures. You ever see a picture of people like on drugs? How they all look really...
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then you see him before, they look totally different.
Yes.
Reverse. Like he went from bad to like 3 days later, he looked like it went like in reverse. Like it was mind blowing the difference in this person. It was like, wow, like amazing. But yeah, it wiped him out for a day and a half, getting that thing off of him, it's powerful stuff. And this thing was affecting his life every day, his attitude, his moods, all of it.
Well, and that's what possession is all about. It's about your attitudes. And you start, it's almost like the difference is, like you just said, when somebody, starts a recreational drug. In the beginning, it's just a recreational drug. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really have that strong hold on them. But depending on the drug, and that is demonic, by the way, that's part of a demonic entrance into your life, all of a sudden, you're finding yourself canceling time with your family, canceling time going to work, canceling time paying your bills, canceling time doing the things that you need to do, and doing your drug. So your whole body, your whole mind is changing. Yeah. And this is how demonic possession happens. That's just the drug side of it. The side of it where the person is just like worshiping Satan, they're getting involved in reading occultist books or, channeling things, that will also cause that person to look horrible. The difference is just night and day, and it's in the eyes, it really is in their eyes. Many times I've gone to people, meeting somebody new, gone to their house or gone out with them to dinner, and others will come along with them. And I look into these people's eyes, and it's a gift, I think, that I've been given, and some demonologists do have this. We can actually see what that person is harboring within them. I don't know if you can, but I bet you can, because you start noticing similarities with certain types of demonic activity, like if it's a demon of lust, if it's a perverse demon, if it's something, and perversions have so many different avenues, like somebody that curses constantly and is just really negative. I know somebody right now I can hardly talk to because all they do is complain. It has changed them 100%. And I know we all complain, but that's like a possession complaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I'm sure you've noticed that with people that you are dealing with and when you go to their homes for deliverances and prayers. And let me ask you, what do you do when you do your deliverances?
Well, I'm retired now, but first thing I would do, I usually have a team or assistants with me, let them do their thing and see what they do, and then I go through and see what I can feel and get, and then I interview the people and put all this information together, and we can validate things with equipment, with what they do, what I do, and what I've gotten, and we can find these vortexes or portals, and and then I can use kind of what they call Reiki energy to close these things,
Right.
which takes a lot out of you. Luckily, on the last case I was on, I had a Reiki master with me. If she wasn't there, because there was eight of these things, I'd never come across 8 in one house before, and it took almost 30 hours to get all this done. And whatever was there, it blew my motherboard up on my cell phone. I was looking at my cell phone trying to film this thing behind a fence, and I was looking at it 85%, and went straight down like that instantly.
Yeah, that happens a lot. It drains it.
It burned it. It burnt the motherboard up. I took it to a specialist. Yeah, he goes, "What happened to you? I've never seen a motherboard burn a cell phone." I was like, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. I wasn't even going to try and tell him.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I just thought it was something that I could fix, but no, it done fried it. It couldn't be fixed. But yeah, there was a lot going on at that house, and even that house that tall, skinny shadow thing was in. What's mind-boggling about that, because I always kind of check back with these families, make sure everything's okay, and how they're doing and things. I follow up on these things, and the lady said, she said, "I remember you telling me about that," and she sent me a picture to look at. A messenger. She goes, "What do you think of this?" And when I seen the picture, it was like, that's what it was in that bedroom. It was a picture. It was a friend of the guy that they both had read these things from that Bible. It was him. He was 7 foot tall and real skinny. And
wow.
Said he had an attitude. If he didn't get his way, he'd throw a fit like a little kid. That's what I've seen, but on a shadow figure, it was like mind blowing when I seen that a year later. I was like, "Oh my, that's him. That was it." It was freaky. It was freaky to realize afterwards that's what was in that bedroom. I don't know if it was still messing with him, but he had other things messing with him anyway. It was like a smorgasbord of stuff going on there, and that's hard on the family,
It is. Everybody suffers. Everybody, It
does. And then you spoke about the attachment. I dropped my guard. I'm a human too. I picked up attachment in 2017. It was like a perfect storm. I was just doing a lot, helping people, and just broke off a relationship, so I'm a little depressed at the time. I probably shouldn't have been doing anything, but it's hard for me to say no. And then, my guard was down, so I picked up attachment, and I knew it. I knew something, but I had stupid ego saying no. I tried to brush, but I knew.
Yeah.
So, a friend of mine who's kind of my mentor, she's an older psychic medium. I hadn't talked to her for months. She called me up out of the blue. She goes, "I just had a vision. You got an attachment." I was like, "Oh, I know I do now, because I already thought I did." So anyway, got rid of it, which was great. And listen, that's how I knew after I got rid of it you're definitely going to feel, because I felt it myself, and I only had it for maybe a week. And it's very powerful when it leaves. Let me tell you, it was mind blowing. So after that, I really can, like, if somebody has something, I can just really feel and see it after that. Like, I don't know. It's like, you're right, though. I can tell.
Yeah, I was in Florida when I lived there, and this happened several times when we lived in Lakeland. I would go to the store, it was a Publix, and there were just so many weird people that lived in that vicinity. And I'd be shopping with my little cart going down the aisle, and someone would come around the corner, and I'm telling you, the skin on my body it was like, being in the presence of that spirit in that person in a situation where I was not invited to get rid of that. I could not even go down that aisle. I would stop and turn my basket around and leave. And when I would see that person, like over in the produce, I would literally go over to the meat section and get away from that person, because what was emanating off of them was so foul to me. I couldn't even be in their presence, and it's happened more than, I hate this. I'll go to check out and they'll be right behind me, or right in front of me, and I'm trying to get away and someone comes up behind me. But that truly does happen. You can not only just see it on people, but you can feel it.
Yeah, and I'm a real stickler. I believe when you got these auras and energy fields around you, and I don't like other people getting too close because their mojo can bleed into mine, if that makes any sense. So I try to keep a distance. You know what I mean?
I rebuke them right away. I just rebuke that spirit. But it's funny, though, how they kind of want to navigate towards you. It's like they see the light and they're coming to it to check that out. And you see the darkness and you're trying to get away from it. Because I'm not in a place where I always feel like I can just, in the middle of the aisle at Publix grocery store, start rebuking and binding these things. I don't have their permission, But that has happened more than once, even going out to dinner and sitting next to people. And you can ask my husband, I've even gone to churches and sat next to people. And the demons in those people were so strong, I had to get up and move to somewhere else to sit. I couldn't be around them. And this just happened not too long ago, as a matter of fact. And my poor husband, I'm like, I can't sit here. Well, but it happens.
Yeah, even just real nasty spirits. I mean, some people, I think I have been one since young age, are like beacons in the night to these things, like to the flame. They, it's like, listen, there's one store, very well known, I won't mention, that when I go there, before I even get into the store, I will sit in the car and get a good read on it before
Yeah.
Teri, I've said, nope, not today. And I just go home. It's not worth it. But yeah.
Well, since Lakeland and that happening, and we've come here, if I'm in the store now, and this has happened here in Tennessee, I'll try to show an extra amount of care and happiness and light. Like when the person walks by now, even though I'm wanting to go in a different direction, I'll go, hey, good morning, you guys have a good day or something, and I'll just keep walking. And it seems to separate me from that energy. I've given good and I'm just staying away now. Very rarely do they get involved in a conversation with you. Very rarely.
Right. And then, everybody's got their own thing. I try not to judge them, but again, you got to look out for yourself.
You do.
And your own well-being, and not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, and these things take tolls on you. And listen, people don't think so. If you notice one of your family members or yourself, your attitude is changing for no reason, or you don't want to be around people, there's probably something in effect making that happen.
Absolutely. I have anointed my family members. I do the oil and I offer up the prayer of healing, and we reject the spirit, and then I anoint the person and pray. And it's always 100% successful because I'm not doing it. God himself is doing the delivering, not me. But, it's a very powerful thing. And I have seen people break down and cry and just admit things that shock me. I didn't know that. And you mentioned judging. I never judge them, but I'm aware of them. You have to be aware. You can't walk into a situation unaware, especially if God uses you in this vein frequently. You need to be aware of where you are, who you're talking to, what you're doing. Yeah. That's not something we can shut off. Even though you're retired, I bet you don't shut that off.
Listen, I don't go in and anywhere like Mr. Magoo in the cartoon just happened. No,
right.
I keep many years of doing things against bad stuff. You got to be on your toes even afterwards for lifetimes. I don't need to, I'm sure you know.
You do. And I've been looking into that. I just believe that what we've been given here as a gift that we're using to help people with this is something that is training us for where we will go. It was Leonard Ravenhill who said to me many years ago in the 70s, we are quickly becoming what we will always be in eternity. And the time frame that we have in this lifetime prepares us for that next step. And we all know we're walking each other home. Nobody gets out alive, right? So, you know, as we're walking each other home, we're learning from one another. Like, this is great talking to you and hearing about what happened to you as a child. That is amazing, because your life kind of mimics mine in a way, you know, the being so young and having these things happen and not being able to deal with them. But you and I share that same, vein with others who do what we do. We seem to be called from youngsters, and we seem to get involved with this, and we don't want anything at all to do with it. We're not interested in it. We want to get away from it. And then our teens come and our early 20s come, and we want to get as far away as the east is from the west. We're just like, I don't want to be involved. But we get drawn in because, you know, God knows He can use our personalities, our wisdom, what we've learned, what we've experienced to help other people. This is so interesting. You know, gosh, Hitman, I know that, you know, you've had a really powerful life with all this goings on with your, you know, investigations.
That I haven't even told you probably 2% of the stuff I've experienced.
I bet. I bet.
You know, real quick too, a lot of people don't realize these things, these evil things, even evil spirits, they're not on our timeline. Like, there is no today, tomorrow, or past, future. They're 1 minute could be 80 days to us.
Exactly.
They're not on time restraint. And these evil things, you think, even if you think you can bind them in a cage, they've got a lifetime to sit there and scratch at it. And
that's right.
Could be
that's
5
right.
minutes to us or 10, vice versa. So you can't think, a human think the way they think. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're in the time frames. They're outside of time. They're in a different dimension, actually, but they're here with us. Good point. That is a very good point. And, you know, I've been studying that recently, actually, reading about it, how they actually aren't within that same restriction,
right.
That we are. You know, we're the ones that are in this life. We're committed to the, you know, 12-hour day, 24-hour, you know, the week and the month and the year. They're not. And that's hard for people to wrap their minds around, actually, because they think it's all what we're doing here.
Yeah. And it's kind of like fish in a pond. That's their world. But what's beyond that pond is science fiction, like us. What's beyond our universe or whatever we can't see is fiction. But that's not true. We know there's more out there.
Oh, there's much more, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, the near-death experience I had helped me to understand that this is not the end. You know, this is a beginning. Once we leave here, we're being trained and taught here for that next realm. This is kind of like the cocoon and the butterfly thing, you know? Yeah. And so it's got many layers to this onion, though. I mean, it has to do with how we think, how we dress, what we do, what we say, our weight, you know, what we eat, everything. It's a full picture. And there's a reason we do what we do, and yet we're to know what to do. So being here teaches us what we need to do. It's just amazing, and it's deep, you know. It's very deep.
So true.
So I'd like to know how people could find you. We're actually over the hour. I said it would go by so fast, it's hard to believe we're going to have you back on and talk about some of your other experiences. But where can people find you on all your different places? I think we have a slide. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, JC the Hitman Show. It plays every Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, it's on all the major apps: Apple, Spotify, Speaker. You can go to the website www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. I've had great guests on there. Right, you were one of my guests.
Yeah.
And a lot of very well-known people. And people that, even if they're not well-known, you may learn something that you may stick with you, so you don't do it to, invite these things in your life.
Amen. Boy, isn't that the truth? So I just want to thank you so much for being on, and I know some people I want to turn you on to, and, and they've got such interesting lives as well and stories, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy interviewing them. Yeah, but we'll definitely have you on again next year.
Looking forward to it, and thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely. So thank you, and we're also on Facebook ourselves, and Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. So if you've missed one of our segments, you can tune in there and listen up if you'd like to. And if you'd like to suggest a host for us, somebody that you'd like to hear something about, please reach out to us at hauntedparis@usa.com. And thank you for joining us tonight. We are so glad that you did. Merry Christmas to you, everyone, and Happy New Year.